And one of the things I discovered about Gillian, which is true, of course, of so many health professionals, is she is a carer herself. She had her own mother to think about at that time and her own father. And I think that's something, if people like Gillian are bringing their personal experience and passion to their jobs, that's what makes it really special. But what I really want to ask you, Gillian, about is how easy is it to start from pretty well from scratch and implement something like this, not in a children's hospital, not in a best practice care ward, but across an entire district general hospital from scratch?
It's absolutely not easy at all. I think it's fraught with challenge. I think the biggest thing for me was my nervousness of stepping out there and being quite bold and saying we were going to sign up the campaign for the whole hospital. It started with one ward, and Karen Wilson is one of our senior charge nurses, is in the audience today, and that felt okay. Doing it for one ward, it felt comfortable, it felt that there was a bit of control, but being bold enough to do it for a whole hospital felt a bit uncomfortable at the beginning. I think the main things are around ensuring that we deliver it every single time, and that was my real nervousness. We spent a lot of time doing posters and, you know, speaking about it at every opportunity across our hospital management teams, senior charge nurse forums, every opportunity we did. We tried to link it to our patient safety agenda at every opportunity, but even then, we all felt a bit nervous about it. Just making sure that everyone is on the same page, because it was only take one bad experience during that implementation for things not to just go how we had planned them to go. So I think that was a real challenge. I think when I listened to the video from Michelle, it's very true, as I am an adult nurse. My background is accident emergency, and it's very true that we don't, as adult nurses, have a lot of contact where families and carers are watching the care that we deliver, and I think that's a real challenge for us to get on that same page. I think as a student nurse in a children's hospital, you can see that that's part of the job that you do, but for an adult nurse it hasn't been, and maybe it should be as part of the training. And you know, maybe we should be working with our universities to open up that discussion earlier on, but we're on the back foot a bit with that now, and we have to do quite a wee bit of catching up around that.
So what have the attitudes of your staff been?
There's been a variety of attitudes. There's been a number of people who have been very enthusiastic, early adopters, and we've used that as a platform to change the mindsets of others. We have had some unfortunate comments, because I'm going to be sitting here and I'm going to be really open and honest, because I don't think people entering this would want to hear anything else. I think some of our staff have fed back, you know, we don't have enough staff to care for the patients in the ward, never mind care for relatives as well. I think there is a huge apprehension about people being there. There was a huge apprehension from our medical colleagues around ward rounds, privacy, confidentiality. All of these things were all minor challenges, I see them as. Some people may see them as different, but I see them as minor challenges that are easily fixed. So,
so minor challenges, but things like confidentiality, privacy, infection, they are quite big things. Which was your worst?
I don't think there was anything that was absolutely the worst. I think keeping it real. So in any one ward, we've only had probably one occasion where we've had 3 or 4 sets of relatives who've wanted to be there 24/7. So that's quite a challenge in an acute elderly ward with 25 patients, but we managed that. The ward were very positive. They were determined that they wanted to support that in every way possible. So I think keeping it real, in any given time in any one ward, there may only be one set of relatives who want to be there. So I think
Yes.
getting that message across to staff that it's not
so
25 sets of relatives that are going to be there 24/7, and it might be different for different people depending on the needs of the individual and the needs of the carers.
I think one of the things that really impressed me, because of course I met wonderful people. I met Karen, who had really started the whole thing off. I met Janice, who is here today. And I went to your accident and emergency ward. And I met Jacqueline, whose job it was to ring families. If somebody had come in, her job it was to ring families. And she said that families are often quite, well, why are you ringing me? What's all this about? But once they knew that they were wanted, their attitudes really changed. Tell us some of the nice things that have happened for you with families and carers and patients. Tell us some of the benefits.
I think from an accident and emergency point of view, we had quite a poor ombudsman report, so I can appreciate, Teresa, where your story and the other side of that story and the impact that had on us. And we were very keen that in that story we got a lot of the technical care right, but we didn't get the interaction with the family right. And I was very keen. I met with the family, and I was very keen that we used John's campaign to turn that around in accident and emergency. It's a very busy area. It's very easy to say we don't have time, we don't have room, there are so many other challenges. But in actual fact, we see relatives, carers, as absolutely essential to the assessment process. You can't get a good assessment from someone who has a cognition deficit unless you involve relatives and carers. The functional assessments that our OTs and physios do, it is absolutely vital that families are part of that so that we can get good decisions about treatment, care and outcomes for patients. So I think that in its totality was the biggest benefit. Some of the stories have been absolutely tremendous. We had a family who at home cared for their mum 24/7. An admirable family. They had there was 5 children and 8 grandchildren, all involved in the care at home in the community. Their mum and gran was admitted to our hospital with urinary sepsis and spent 2 weeks in our care, and they continued that care while she was in hospital. They had had an admission 12 months previously before we had implemented John's campaign, and it was a very different experience coming back to the hospital a year later. But they had a family had decided before they even came into our hospital building that they were staying with their mum no matter what. So having John's campaign there just made that easy for them. But what it did for them was it meant they could keep their mum in the same routine as she had at home, getting up at the same time in the morning and having the same routine for putting her clothes on, etc., which was hugely important. And that then helped the discharge process, so their mum was in the same routine and it was easy for then that routine to be carried on back at home again. She had a vein flow in which we delivered our IV antibiotic therapy through, and very often at night she became quite distressed, and I think if the family hadn't been there, that vein flow would have been out and it would have been a difficult scenario for the patient and everyone else. So that's a great example. Another great example we had was in relation to end of life. We had an elderly gentleman, Mr. Sleeth, and his granddaughter, Zaria, who spent the last few weeks with her grandpa in our care. And she got and was afforded the opportunity to have the last conversation with him before he lost consciousness, which was hugely important. His favourite thing to eat was ice cream, so she got to have and share the moment of having the last ice cream with her grandpa. She was an HND photography student and actually photographed the last 18 weeks of her grandpa's life, which included being in our hospital and having the opportunity to be there because of John's campaign. So for me, these were key moments, and these were moments that we used to share with the staff and to turn around the people who are the doubters in all of this, because let's be realistic, everyone in this room is really supportive, and that's great, but not everyone up and down the country is, and we have to just be mindful of that.
Thank you very much, Gillian. Gillian is offering to become a John's Campaign ambassador. I can't think of anybody more wonderful with your honesty and your practicality as well as your compassion. Thank you so much, Gillian. Thank you.